Okay, welcome back. This is going to be episode 2 of the Honda Dream project. Anyway, it's a very small project. Just basically want to get the bike running and so it can be used in the springtime. In the last episode, I got it running. It's not running well. It wouldn't come down on an idle. It was hanging up. So anyway, this episode here, I'm going to get down to the bottom of things and find out what was going on with that carburetor that kept the engine from running right. Also, in the last episode, I mentioned having a few other projects going over the all over the holiday season, so I thought I might as well show you a couple of those. One of them was working on a little ship model that I started, and the other two were some paintings I've done and a couple of frames I had to make up for two of them, matching frames and that. So I'll just show you and then we'll get on with the work. Well, I'll tell you, that handlebar job did not go as well as expected. All I knew it was going to be a lot of fiddling around and getting the wires and cables out of the bars and that, but it turned out that these bars that I've put on were bent. So I spent probably the last 2 hours trying to get them as straight as I could. They're pretty friggin' close to perfect now, and I don't think anybody will be able to notice they were ever bent. Important thing is that you can drive it and not feel like they were ever bent. But there's those old, I guess you'd call them mini apes or something that were on it. They're an 8-inch rise, so they're still within the legal limit for around here, if anyone wanted to use them. But anyway, now the next thing to do is get the cables and the wires back into those bars. And actually, this one came with a good starter switch on it. So I'm going to put that back on. These old switches did not have the signal lights in them, so I'm not going to put signal lights on the bike. I'll just keep it simple. That means there'll be a couple of little extra holes in the handlebars, but I don't think anybody will notice that. And maybe someday, if he falls in love with the bike and wants to spend a little more money on it, well, he can get a real good brand new set of proper Dream bars for it. Right, now that I've got those handlebars straightened out, reasonably straight at least, the tricky part comes next. Getting all those bloody wires down through all these little curves and bends and past these little rubber grommets and everything else and out through that center hole. I know why they stopped doing this, because it must have been time consuming even in the factory. Anyway, what I do, or I find the easiest thing to do, is just take a piece of stiff wire, like this is a piece of stainless steel wire, and make a little loop on the end. It makes it a little easier to go around the bends and that sort of thing. And you can start here and push it down this way until you get to the middle, or you can start in the middle and push it down this way until you get to that slot. Either way, if it doesn't work in one direction, try the other. Keep trying. Eventually you will get it, but it can be frustrating. Okay. That's all the wires fed down through there. Luckily, I only had that yellow and red wire there. That's one for the starter. That's coming from the right handlebar. Left handlebar has this larger glob of wires coming through here. This has actually been extended right here for when they had the higher handlebars on there. In any case, I got them through, so they're ready to go on. And so I don't forget, you got to put your clutch and brake levers on first. So don't make a mistake and forget them, because then you'll have to take the wires back out again. And another thing I want to mention, if you put a little bit of grease on these wire sheaths here, before you put them through the handlebars, they'll feed up through those handlebars a lot easier when you're pulling them through with the smaller, stiffer wire. Alright, let's offer those up to the bike. Right, well, I knew there was something wrong with that carburetor. The needle jet was installed from the mixing chamber instead of being installed from the float chamber, which put it up too high to begin with. Plus it was upside down as well, so that it would run at all is a kind of a miracle. I've always said that these Hondas would run without even piston rings in them, but anyway, got that carburetor sorted out now. I'm quite sure it's where it should be, so we'll call this another first start. And of course I've got the new handlebars on there, well, the new old ones that were painted are now pretty straight. The electric start is installed, the old button from the other one is in there and that works. Lights all work and everything just like they did before I took the bars off. So anyway, fuel's hooked up, fuel tap is open, and put the choke on. Like I said, this is the same as a fresh start because that carburetor was so messed up that it was a miracle it would go at all. So anyway, let's see what happens this time. Difference. Let's do a little walk around here with the camera. Nope, it's all the way open now. That buffer, that's fairly new, but it does not have the baffle in it like that one. Working really well. Putting out a really good spark. I showed that to you in the last video. Beautiful. Let's take the gas. Oh. I think Todd's going to be pretty happy with that. It's warming up a little bit. I'll adjust that fuel air mix on the primary circuit. Sounds pretty happy right about there. Okay. Yeah. The idle speed is picking up a bit now. It's warming up. Turn that down a bit. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Todd's going to be pretty happy with that. There are a few other little things to do to it before I hand it over. I'm going to get the old oil out of that gas tank. That gas tank was acid clean, and it's been filled up with old motor oil to keep it from rusting. So I think now it's safe to put some gasoline in it, put it back on the bike. Yeah, this is great. Well, now that it seems to be running really well, I decided I would try to figure out what was wrong with the tail light, why that wasn't coming on, and that's a pretty good reason. All right, let's put a bulb in there. Oh, look, that's kind of loose. Anyway, let's set the key on and see if that works or not. Ah, there it is, yeah. Clean up that socket a little bit. Didn't want to maybe if I just wiggle it around a little bit, it'll clean the socket out just from me doing that. There. Okay. Well, I don't think the brake light is working. Just press the pedal there. No, nothing's happening when I press the brake light pedal, so the switch for that is over here on this side, right in front of the battery, so see what's going on there. Dokely, I think you can see that glow there, telling you that I have a rear tail light, that is. If I get my foot on the pedal, let's see if I can get a brake light. Yep, so brake light's working too. Only problem is I only have one screw in the tail light lens, but Todd's got at least one other bike that he might be able to rob some parts off of. Maybe he can find another one of those long screws to put in there. Anyway, with that, we'll turn the key off and get on with the next little thing. I made a boo-boo. Well, I was got down to brute force and stupidity trying to get this valve cover off on the intake valve on the right-hand cylinder, and this nut that's part of the cover was so chewed up that I couldn't get a wrench on it that fit. So I decided to try to tap a wrench over it that wouldn't fit, and I wound up, if you look at it that way, kind of pushing the top in on that cover. You can see right there where the intake valve was coming up against the cover, and I thought, oh, I don't think I have any compression on that cylinder anymore. I guess that's going to have to come off come hell or high water, even if I smash it. So anyways, I tried knocking on it with a cold set right there, and all that did was take a little chunk of metal out of it. But when I might have jarred it enough to get it loose, because when I put the pipe wrench on here, it finally came loose and I could get it off. But now I have to try to get this back into its proper shape without cracking that cast aluminum, and that's going to be a pretty tricky thing to do. I'm lucky I haven't cracked it here yet. But anyway, I'm going to anneal that with the hopes that I can gently tap it back into shape without cracking it. I suppose if I do crack it, I can get somebody to weld it up, or I can go on the internet and just get new covers for it. But I am going to fix up that nasty looking nut if I can save this one. But let me see if I can save it first. Like I say, sometimes when you're taking stuff apart, you wind up breaking stuff, and that's just part of the job. If it breaks when you're taking it apart and it has to come apart, well, then it has to break. Anyway, like I said, tapping that wrench, trying to tap the wrench on over there with a little hammer was not a good idea, and that was my own darn fault. Well, thank goodness I was able to get that straightened out. I even filed up the head of the bolt end, I guess, that hex there, so I could get a wrench on it, a proper wrench on it at least, instead of a freaking pipe wrench. But anyway, what I did to straighten that out was I heated the darn cap up in the first place to anneal it, because I know how easy it is to crack aluminum castings. Anyhow, after I'd annealed it, I put it in this little section of pipe, and I just took that little other smaller section of pipe and just gently tapped it till it came back out into the proper form again. And yeah, so I saved that anyway. Okay, earlier on in the job here, I discovered there was no sealing washer on the drain bolt. So anyway, I found a sealing washer in my kit of fiber washers, and I put that on the drain bolt, and that took care of probably 90% of the leakage problem. But there's still a little hint of oil on the bottom of that pan after about a week. Anyway, I decided it was time to see if I could figure out where that was coming from. And as far as I can tell, it was coming from the shift shaft. There was no seal in there at all. So I got lucky. I was rooting through my kits of seals, and I found an old Honda seal kit that was actually from a 750 Honda, but there was a seal in here in that kit that would fit this shaft quite well. But it was just slightly smaller than this opening right here. Probably by about 1 millimeter smaller than it needed to be. Anyway, I got a piece of aluminum, and I machined up a little cup with very thin walls to hold that seal and make up for the space in here. So anyway, I got that together, and I've driven that in with a deep socket actually, which seemed to work quite well. Anyway, with that seal in there on that shift shaft, I'm hoping that there won't be a drop of oil coming out of this anymore. I shall have to clean up the oil in the pan there and just do a leak check over the course of the next few days. And meanwhile, I'll put that shift lever back on that shaft there, and I think I'll call it a night. Well, one of the last things on my list of stuff to do with this little bike was to get the old motor oil out of that gas tank that I'd put in it after I acid cleaned it. And anyway, I drained all the oil out, and I flushed it 3 times with old gasoline, and then I flushed it a 4th time with about half a liter of new gasoline. Anyway, I put that, I don't like throwing stuff away, so that new gasoline, I just filtered that through a coffee filter and put it back in one of my small jugs. I'll use that in the lawnmower next summer here when that time of year rolls around. But anyway, I'm always worried about these old petcocks leaking and stuff. But anyway, that's been sitting there for 2 hours, and there isn't a drop of anything on there or under it. So I think it's safe to say that that tank doesn't seem to be leaking anyways, so I can probably put that on the bike. There we go, tank's on the bike. No leaks, at least not yet anyway. Okay, I got the side cover on this side here, no problem. Everything tucked away in under there like it should. Bike is running great, starts first kick. Yeah, it's making electricity. All the lights are doing what they're supposed to do. They come on and off. Brake light works. Yeah, so starter works. Yeah, everything works. So this thing is never going to win any beauty contest, but that's not what it's about. It's about getting these old machines back on the road and getting them reliable enough to, go out on a club ride or something like that with them. And I don't see why this shouldn't turn out to be one of those bikes. I could not get the side cover on that side there because the battery's just too darn big. I'm sure it'll go on very easy once it gets the right size battery for it. And the other thing I did not mention was I couldn't get that air filter to go on to the end of that big snuffleupagus nose that comes off the carburetor. Anyway, I did find a nice little pod filter that fit right on the end of that intake tube. So I just put that in there, and that should work just fine for an air filter. So Anyway, it's all together. I think Todd will get some good use out of that. So we're going to wrap this up. So I'm just going to say thanks for watching. It's been fun doing this up, and a lot of, oh, by the way, no leaks in the oil pan, and that seal is holding nice and tight there by the shifter. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Like I was about to say, thanks for watching. Be good to each other. We'll see you next time.